Hi everyone, my name is Adam Rahall, and this presentation is for the CHRTC 264 salvation portion. Today I'll be discussing the Christian doctrine of salvation using Paul, Augustine's City of God Book X, McGraw's chapter on salvation, and our lecture notes. I'll cover one new concept I learned, one term that needs clarification, and one applied question that connects a topic to church life today. The biggest thing I learned in this unit is that salvation is not just forgiveness, it is a transformation. Many people think salvation is a legal transaction or a spiritual guarantee for the afterlife. By reading Augustine alongside McGrath and Paul, it showed me in this chapter that salvation is far more dynamic and relational. Paul is the foundation here. Our lecture notes emphasize that Paul never speaks of salvation as only being in past tense. Instead, he says, we have been saved, are being saved, and will be saved. That means salvation is a process, a journey of being reshaped by grace. Then Augustine deepens the idea. In City of God, Book X, he argues that a true sacrifice is any act that unites us to God. For Augustine, salvation restores humanity to right worship and right desire. What he calls ordered love, he also insists Christ is both priest and sacrifice, meaning we are not just saved by Christ, we are drawn into his own act of self-offering to the Father. So salvation isn't something that just happens to us. It is something we are drawn into. McGrath adds structure to this. He explains that salvation includes justification, being set right with God, and sanctification, the ongoing transformation of character through grace, or as well as the ongoing transformation of character through grace. So salvation is not only about being saved from sin, it is also about being restored for communion with God. So the concept I learned is this: salvation is participation in Christ's life and transformation by grace, not just rescue. The term I think needs clarification is sanctification. It appears often in theology, but it's one of the most misunderstood words. Sanctification means the ongoing dimension of salvation, the part where God actually changes us over time. It prevents us from having a shallow view of salvation as a one-time conversion experience. Paul implies that sanctification when he says, or implies this sanctification when he says believers must put on Christ and be renewed day by day. Um, Salvation must unfold in a person's life. Augustine explains why sanctification is necessary, because sin damages the will and disorders our loves. We don't simply pardon, we need healing. Sanctification is that healing. And McGrath defines it clearly that sanctification means cooperating with grace. We don't earn salvation, but we must grow into it. So sanctification matters because it connects salvation to real life, to habits, to morals, to struggle, to actually becoming similar to Christ or like Christ. So some author contributions I'd like to just bring up are Paul, with the idea that salvation is ongoing, a journey in Christ. Augustine, where salvation restores love and worship of God. And McGraw, salvation is structured justification plus sanctification. Together, they show that salvation includes forgiveness, healing, God restores our will, transformation, God reshapes our character, and union with God, communion through Christ. This moved me beyond a simplistic view of salvation. It made me see that salvation is something we must live, not just believe. Um, and then for my applied question, I have it right on the screen here just below. So the deeper view of salvation presents an important question for the life of the church today. If salvation genuinely involves participation in the life of Christ and gradual transformation through sanctification, why do so many churches present salvation as a single moment of belief or conversion? Many communities focus on emotional religious experiences rather than the long work of spiritual growth. If Augustine is correct that salvation reorders love, and McGrath is correct that it is a process of being reshaped by grace, then the church must prioritize spiritual formation. Instead of measuring success by attendance or activity, the church should help people grow in virtue, love, discipline, and character. Salvation invites believers not simply to believe in Christ, but to become Christ-like. In conclusion, uh, salvation is not passive and is not shallow. It is participation in Christ's life. Paul shows its movement. Augustine shows its purpose, union with God. McGrath explains its structure. Salvation is not just rescue, it is rebirth. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing what my fellow group mates have placed for salvation or have done for salvation. Thank you very much, and have a good day.